tell a budding, brand new watch collector? What kind of advice do you give them?
Well, don't. It's the first thing I'll tell you.
Are you sure you're ready for this life?
No, don't do that.
Episode of the Watch Factor. I have a very good friend, Steve, who is a member of the Red Bar, a group that I'm a part of with the Detroit group, and we decided to come and meet today to talk a little bit about his collection. Now, he's brought a very diverse, interesting mix of pieces from his collection, so not just everything, but enough for us to really find out a little bit about the man, the collector. So, Steve, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
First question I've got to ask. We've got an assortment of pieces. We've got known brands. We've got kind of niche, unique brands or micro brands here. We've got some powerhouse boys. When did you first realize that you were a watch collector and a serious watch collector?
Collecting kind of evolved over time as I saw things that I liked and I bought them, and then I end up with an assortment of watches. But the first watch that I ever bought, first real watch that wasn't a Timex. I used to work at Northland Center when I was a teenager. Yeah. If you remember Northland, I don't know if you do. And there was a Hudson's department store, and they sold Longines watches. This was in 1976, so it was just at the height of the quartz crisis. Mechanical watches, they had them stacked up. At ridiculously low prices, and I saved up and got a 14 karat gold Longines Admiral 5-star. Which actually looks a lot like, in fact, the 5 stars. For this watch, the Spirit, which the series they revived it. The 5-star was their highest level of quality. And it was the first real watch I ever bought when I was 15 and a half years old. It cost me, I believe it was $89, down from $400. For this 14 karat gold watch. And I probably wore it every day for a couple of years, and then when I moved out of my parents' house, I think I put it in a box and I never found it again. So it was gone. But I had started collecting from that point on.
So from 15 on, you got bit by the bug.
Right. So I had swatches, and I had Longines, and I bought Omegas, and I bought Tussauds, and just an assortment of lower to mid-range watches. And then I started to sell the watches that I didn't wear to buy more expensive watches.
Gotcha. So how would you say your collection has evolved? You've been collecting for well over 10, 15 years. Like, what draws your taste now in comparison to maybe, let's say, 5 years ago?
Pretty close to 45 years since I started. It goes through phases. So I've had phases where I had almost all of the name brands, where I would have, I had a couple of Rolexes, I've had Omegas, I had a variety of other things, Breitlings, you name it. And then, you get on the forums, or you go to the Red Bar and you see the same watch in other people, and I just kind of decided I was going to try something a little off the beaten road. So for the most part, although I have a large collection of Longines watches, because I think that they're just a remarkable value for what you're getting. So I have quite a few of those, but other than that, most of the things I have are not something that you would see every day.
every day.
Right.
That's one of the things that I appreciate about your collection. There are some names that you recognize,
Right.
but there's a lot of pieces that cause you to want to inquire more, right? To kind of seek to understand, like,
Right.
who is the brand, what drew you to it, and one thing that I started to appreciate about your collection was just some of the design elements that you see across the collection. There's no duplicate there. Right, it's almost a one-of-one for everything that you're going through. So,
Right.
Maybe if we could, let's go through a few. Why don't we start with this one here? Tell us a little bit about that one.
All right, so this is the Longines Spirit chronograph. It's a 42 millimeter column wheel vertical clutch chronograph that I bought just as the pandemic was starting. It was actually the last watch I bought for a while because I couldn't get into a store.
Okay.
They had just come out, and I found that to be very interesting. Came on a brown strap, which I immediately took off, and I've changed the strap multiple times. Now it's
Really?
right now on a red alligator, which I think is pretty cool.
It's grabbing the red accents of the hands,
Exactly.
just enough to really make them pop.
Right.
No, that's beautiful.
And again, it had the 5 stars. This is a chronometer, not terribly expensive, and good solid piece.
That's one thing about Longines. They've been digging back into their history for the last couple of decades, and I mean, just spot on with their re-editions and releases.
Right.
And
Like
what's
this. So this is the hour angle watch. So this watch was designed by Charles Lindbergh. After he took his transatlantic flight, he realized that it was very difficult to figure out what your longitude is. You can figure your latitude, but you needed to be able to use this and for accurate time, and depending on the angle of the sun with a sextant and the maps, you could figure out where you were in relation to the Earth.
So we're basically talking about a piece of history here.
This is really a piece of history. It's 47 millimeters, and it has a Hunter case back,
onion crown.
right, that has the inscription from Charles Lindbergh, that this was designed by Charles Lindbergh.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's a numbered edition. They've made several of these over the years, but this came out in the 30s, and this is a reintroduction. This is from 2006. This was a pawn shop find.
Really?
Yep.
That's interesting. I didn't think you were the type of hunter that would find its way
I
to
go
pawn
to I go to
shops, so-
pawn shops. I once picked up a Mega pie plate watch
Okay.
in a garage sale for $5.
How cool is that?
Yeah, very
How
cool.
cool is that?
So I think this is a very cool
Oh yeah.
piece of history. It's a big,
It's a hefty watch, but
it's a hefty.
it has great proportions, and I think with the brown strap it works well.
Yeah, so this is actually I just bought this strap because the one that came with it from the pawn shop, the person who owned it didn't have a big enough wrist, so he punched holes right in the
Making it work?
right in the bolster. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so it looked terrible.
That's
so,
one heck of a find.
Right, I thought that was really neat.
And then where do we want to go to next? You want to go straight down the line, or
Yeah, we can do that. That's
Okay.
fine. So this watch is by a company called Chrono Swiss. Chrono Swiss makes, I think they're up to about 5,000 watches a year, maybe.
Okay.
They're all limited editions. This is one of 50. So this is an open gear with a retrograde 32nd hand.
how crazy is that? It's so interesting that when you come across brands that are not kind of well known, they don't have the same advertising,
Right.
but the level of craftsmanship or just the type of engineering that they actually go with.
Right.
to design
This
the
is
piece.
called the chocolate because of the chili red dial and the brown PVD.
Look at that. It's like coin edged.
Yeah.
I'm taking off the watch to try that. to try that on.
Yeah, this has got
Oh,
it
wow.
right there, just to give you an idea.
And less than 5,000.
Made every year
Made every
for
year.
all of their collections.
So how did you come across this brand? How did you even find out that they existed?
So, just as the pandemic was ending, and I decided I need to go to a watch store, I went to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, I went to Duracian Jewelers in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Armand Duracian, who's just a remarkable guy. And I came out. And I bought a Chrono Swiss, and then I bought I traded some Omega watches for this
Wow. Okay.
because I really had reached the point where I had a few Omegas and I really wasn't wearing them anymore. And I made myself a promise about 20 years ago. If I didn't wear a watch in 60 days or so, I'm going to sell it.
Oh my Lord.
Because,
I couldn't do it.
well, because, otherwise your collection can get...
Astronomical.
Right. And it's pretty astronomical now, but I just didn't want to buy watches just to put them in a safe.
Sure.
It's not the collector that I am.
Yeah.
So I was finding I wasn't wearing, I had the new Seamaster 300 Professional
Sure.
in white. And I loved the watch when I bought it, but then other things took my interest, and so I traded that and another piece to
I
get.
can kind of appreciate that. I mean,
to get this.
For me as a collector, it's extreme to be on a 60-day time frame, but I do have watches that I ask myself, you spend more time looking at it than you do wearing it.
Right.
What does that mean? You know
Exactly.
what I mean? What does that mean?
And every once in a while, I cheat. I'll wear 2 or 3 a day,
Okay.
but just to make sure, because there's some I just don't want to get rid of, and I can't get to them in time. But
Okay.
but other than that,
All right.
and then this one, this is so strange. I was just zipping through YouTube videos.
Sure.
And I came across a dealer in Denver that had this watch, and I said, "This is the most beautiful watch I've ever seen."
Yeah.
This is Alexander Sokolov.
Okay.
It's made in Germany. They make, I think they're up to about 1,100 total watches a year. This is truly a micro brand. And this watch is called the Niva collection. It's
The Niva collection.
Niva
Okay.
is a river in Russia where he was born, and the dial, the printing on the dial is supposed to represent when the wind washes
Pattern.
right
Wow.
comes across that, and
That's
it's a
beautiful.
remarkable dial. And what they do is they take Russian chronograph movements, rip them apart, and rebuild them, and then hand decorate the bridges. So on the flip side is just as pretty.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And each one is limited either to 49 pieces or 89 pieces, depending on what it is, depending on the color. And they're so reasonably priced.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier.
About $1,500. It's just unbelievable.
That's one
for what
heck
you
of
get.
One heck of a.
Now it is a manual movement with no quick set date. So if you don't wear it for a while and you got to set that date, it's a 10-minute.
I mean, it's such a conversation piece.
Right.
But it's gorgeous. Like
So that's the other thing that I do. So when I really like a brand, I will buy quite a few of them. So I have 9 of these and 5 of those. And
now I don't feel bad. I can tell my wife. So.
yeah, so it's not necessarily a wonderful thing.
Let's go to an oldie but goodie. So we've got Breitling here.
Right. So this is the Breitling Super Ocean 2, 46 millimeter, because I've got an 8-inch wrist and it just looked great on me. I actually sold a Breitling Navimeter just before I bought this one. So I was saying, okay, I'm done with Breitling.
Okay.
I got rid of the 3 that I have, and then I saw this at a store. I couldn't make the deal at a store, but I ended up buying it in the gray market.
Yeah. What's your thought on Breitling right now? Do you feel like they're regaining the confidence and the belief in the market that they?
Some of the new stuff, the Premier, and the new Navitimer with the copper,
the kind of
dot.
salmon.
Right. So that is on my. I'm gonna have to get that.
Okay. All right.
List.
We've got some other ones before we get into Carl. You've got a Ulysse Nardin.
Yes.
And not very many people that I've seen even know about the brand. So how did you land on this one?
25 years ago.
Okay.
I bought when they first coming out with this design. I had bought one. This is the chronometer. So this is based off of the watch they would put into the ships that would move around. That would have it on gimbals that would move around. Right. And I bought one, and then for whatever circumstances, I had to sell it, and I didn't get another one. And then I saw this as a new old stock at a dealer that I got a great deal, and I couldn't pass it up. So this was like a grail watch for me.
Oh, wow.
That I got rid of
Yeah.
a long time ago, and it always wanted back.
That's the thing about patience. Like, I found myself, I'll come across a watch, whether it be in a magazine or online. It's just not the right time.
Right.
And then everything that new eventually becomes not new, right? Moved
Exactly.
on, and now it's a little bit more affordable.
And most of the ones that I've ever seen come with this rubber strap.
Yep.
And I needed it in steel.
Yep.
It's just the weight, the
Yeah.
heft to it,
Yeah.
and it's really a remarkable
gorgeous.
watch.
It's really gorgeous.
I like that.
So you have one in here that I chuckled at, which is your ball watch, just because of the dial and the variations of colors for the tubes. How did we come across this one? What drew you to this watch?
So I sold a watch, I don't remember what it was anymore, but I sold a watch on Chrono 24 to a dealer. And we started talking. This is a dealer in Rhode Island, and he's an authorized ball watch dealer. So he said, if you ever want a ball watch, give me a call, and I'll make you a great deal. And I happened to see this as I'm zipping through the ball watch website. This is called the Engineer 3 Marvelite. I wanted a night watch, so I wear this watch when I go to the movies. I wear it because I can see, okay, how long is this movie really going to be?
You can make it a tool watch. You can make it a tool watch.
That's right. So this is my movie watch.
your movie watch.
This is my movie watch, and I wear watches even when I go to bed, which I probably shouldn't do. So this is a 2892 at a movement, but it's the chronometer certified version, and I just love the way they imprinted the back with the railroad. Right.
Still tying to the early days. So let's go ahead and jump into Carl, and then we'll jump into the last two little good ones after that.
Okay. So Carl Berkerer, this is a fascinating watch because this is an in-house movement with a peripheral rotor.
Okay. So explain what a peripheral rotor is.
So normally when you see an automatic movement, there's a rotor that moves around and charges the engine, but it blocks the view of the movement.
Yeah.
So what they did, and this was there was a company that they bought that was one of the original founders of this company was F.B. Jorn.
Oh, really?
Right. He was long gone when they bought the company, but the company was working on peripheral movements, and they perfected this. And so it's for a watch under $10,000 to have a peripheral movement. You got to jump up then to Bergeron Constantin has one in some of their tourbillons, and this is their second generation of that peripheral movement.
Both the Genèves on. I mean, it's just gorgeous finishing.
So
yeah, because when I first saw this, I said, "This is a mechanical wand," and you were like, "No, it's not actually.
It's an automatic."
Wow, that is impressive.
And the dial work, again, for this Big Day Power Reserve is remarkable because it's a sunburst pattern, but also changes color as you move it, from light to blue to grays and purple, and it's just remarkable. And this is the second one I bought. The first one, the first generation of their peripheral movement was a straight small seconds white dial, which I still own.
How did you come across the brand? Is this?
So when I went back to see Dirachi the second time,
Gotcha.
I looked at the white one, which is the second one I bought, and I said, okay, I got to get this watch. And we haggled and haggled and haggled and haggled. He says, I got to call the distributor. So finally, we made a deal on that one. And then I bought a chronograph of theirs, and then I bought this one, and then I bought another chronograph.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I bought this beast.
Yeah.
This is their diver,
Okay.
which is the Scuba Tech. And every time I went into his store, I would look at this watch, and say, nah, I don't need another diver. I certainly don't need another black and red diver. This is it's relatively thin, but it's a 45 millimeter helium escape valve. Beautiful dial, absolutely gorgeous dial. And again, chronometer certified, so it's very accurate. And
Let's start with this guy. Tell us about this one here.
so this is a Nomos Neomatic Club Sport.
Okay.
And this is their biggest watch. It's 42 millimeters. Like I said, I have a fairly large wrist. So while I liked Nomos, I like the Bauhaus kind of movement.
Yeah.
Very simple, very straightforward. I could never wear their watches; they were too small. And then they came out with this, and it's again the same kind of thing. I've seen the watch maybe 20 times before I pulled the trigger. I would look at it, I'd try it on.
Gotcha.
I'd walk out, I'd buy something else, and but I really, really like this. What's interesting about this German design with this really, really nice in-house movement.
So plain.
Yeah, and German decorating. You got the 3/4 plate,
Yep.
and it's really nice. And again, this is one of the things I like about a number of watches that I have is they have quick remove bracelets and straps. So I am the worst when it comes to putting on straps. I'm the worst when I try to anytime I have to fix a watch, I end up trying to fix it, then I have to take it to a watchmaker to fix what I fixed. I'm just not very good at it.
Wow.
So this comes, even though this has a bracelet, it comes with a quick release bracelet. And I've had it on a gray strap, a beige strap. I've had it on a NATO to try different things. So one of the cool things about changing straps that I really like is that you end up with a new watch. It's really
It can totally change.
the watch.
Yeah.
So I gravitate towards things that I can pop them
Modify
off.
with. Okay.
Pop them off.
That's awesome because it's been cases where I bought a watch and I felt like the strap wasn't doing the dial justice.
Right.
It was being lost in the strap when I switched out, whether it been the color or to a steel or Milanese or something like that, and all of a sudden it literally gives the watch new life.
Right.
So I totally
and
understand.
I don't want to have to go to I have a great watchmaker not too far from me, but just to change straps, it's just I'm so bad at it that I if it doesn't have the quick release, I try to find them with the quick release.
Cool. We've got one more left, but definitely a serious big boy. Why don't you tell us about this Glashütte Original?
Okay, so this is a CQ Panorama date. They made Glashütte Original primarily makes dress watches. Is what they're known for.
Panamanic Luminar, some of those.
Right. And I owned the Panamanic Lunar XL. So the Panamanic Lunar comes in a 40 millimeter, and again, because of my wrist, 40 millimeter just looked too small. But for a while they came out with a 42 millimeter, and I bought that. But it never looked right because they didn't change the movement. They just made the dial bigger. So everything was just kind of pushed in the middle.
Yeah.
It just didn't sit right with me. So I got rid of that, and then I didn't have one of these for the longest time. And then they came out with a 39 millimeter version of a diver's watch in 2018, but it was too small for me. And then they came out with the 42 millimeter with the panorama date. And their dates are the best in the industry. They're better than anything else I've ever seen because this is it's all on one plane. There's two circles with this, right? But they're all on one plane and they're immediate quick change, and you can't really tell. I mean, it's a big date, but it's really a big date.
It's the first time I've seen a watch that's sporty, but it's sexy. To be honest,
it is.
I mean, it's a sexy looking watch.
And then when they came out with the two-tone in 2000, I said, this is the watch that I want. Because, first of all, I think that they're tremendously underrated. They sell about 10,000 watches a year, that's it. Nobody knows who they are. And this is true high horology. These are handmade movements. That's a gold.
I mean, I've
loader.
heard them say, some people call, and I think it's in respect, but still a little bit of they're the little brother of A-Long and Zona, right? You know, and usually when they talk about German brands, it's usually three: A-Long and Zona, Glashütte Original, and Nomos.
That's right. They're all in the same. They're all within. You can throw a stone between the three of them. This is actually the A-Long and Zona. This is the original group. The one that's now A-Long and Zona is not that family. They started Glashütte Original when the wall fell in East Germany was reunited with West Germany.
Wow. Yeah, this is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just enough of a gold tone.
Right. And the other thing I really like about it is because if you take a look on the side, the crystal is domed but faceted, multifaceted.
Yes.
So that you get all sorts of interesting light play and distortion. It's like the Magic 8. If you look at it a certain way, the 8 warps.
Yep, warps or even disappears a little bit.
So when I take pictures of it, and post it on the Glashütte Original site, it's the Magic 8 that usually gets because when you hold it like this, you end up with the 8 that distorts. It's a really a remarkable timepiece. It's astonishingly accurate. It's 120-hour power reserve.
Oh, wow.
I take it back. It's 100-hour power reserve.
Okay.
It doesn't lose a second.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like you said, for the most case, everything in your collection is worn.
Everything is worn.
What's on the radar? What are you scouting, going in and out of the store, looking at, trying on?
So the next watch I'm getting is a Blancpain 50 fathoms ceramic limited edition.
Okay.
That's the one that I'm buying next. I've seen the watch in person. I was lucky to see the watch in person. It's remarkable. It's a blue ceramic with a gray dial.
Okay.
And this movement that that's also like this diver. So this movement is very elegant. The other one is very industrial, but it's all hand done. So everything that you see in that, and it's just such a beautiful watch.
Wow.
I used to have a lot of dress watches, but the world's changed.
The world's changed. Yeah,
the
that's
world's
true.
changed.
That's
But
true.
I would like to get a Calatrava is something that I like to do. They have a few that are just about the right size for me. But that's
awesome.
That's down the road.
Yeah, I'm the person that's kind of going against the grain, and I think in the same breath as you look for pieces that you're not going to see too many people having. Where I'm still going after dress watches. I'm still going for 35 is probably as small as I can go.
Yeah.
But unique pieces that I just like, I'm not seeing anybody. But let me ask you this: with over 30 years of collecting, a wide variety of pieces. Really locked into the style and DNA of what you like to buy. What do you tell a budding, brand new watch collector? What kind of advice do you give them?
Well, don't. It's the first thing I'll tell you.
Are you sure you're ready for this life?
No, don't do that because it can be very consuming. It's expensive, but it's just very consuming. If you're going to get into watches, I am not a believer in investment watches.
Okay.
I've had watches that have done very well when I've sold them.
Sure.
I've had watches that I've lost a little bit of money, but it's not at all the focus of when I buy the watch. And I would encourage if you're gonna do that, then you're not a watch collector. You're an investor.
Yeah.
Buy the things that appeal to you.
Yeah.
And that you're going to wear. A Tissot, a good Tissot, or a Seiko is $200-300.
More than enough.
Yeah, they're great watches.
More than enough.
They're really great watches.
Awesome.
But that's what I would tell them.
Cool. Well, Steve, thank you for joining us on the show, man. I appreciate you sharing.
Oh, my
this
pleasure. Thank you.
Amazing collection, and we'll definitely have you back again.
I appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Bye.